What's up, and welcome to this week's edition of Invisible Walls, and hot damn, it's our 20th episode. Woo! You guys ever think we make it? Let's give ourselves a little hand here.
All right.
In particular, I think we should definitely give Ryan Stevens a hand because he has to sit and cut all this together every time. So Ryan, thank you very much.
Even though he's not with us today.
Yeah, Ryan is not with us today. He is over the seas in the Germany with the whole crew of our editorial peeps over there covering Leipzig. Of course, by the time you are watching this, Leipzig will probably be yesterday's news, and hopefully we will have torn it a new one by now. But at any rate, we do have a solid crew with us. It stayed behind. Brooks Huber is sitting in today.
Hey, everybody.
Justin Spear.
Hey, what's up?
Michael Damiani.
What's up, everyone?
And as a very, very special treat, today on Invisible Walls, we have the voice of game trailers, Brandon Jones.
What's up, kids?
That's what he looks like.
You've asked for him. We gave him to you once. We're giving him to you again. The one and only Brandon Jones. He does all the voiceover for our reviews, features, previews, you name it. He is the voice of GT.
In the official empty slot when there's not enough people to be on Invisible Walls.
That too. All right. First, we're going to talk about the NPD sales chart. Just came out last week. The sales for July. Not too many surprises. Well, actually, there are some surprises on here. Hardware-wise, the Wii, sitting at 555,000. The Wii's dipping a little bit. That could just be summer. Everybody's on vacation. Or it could be a sign that finally everybody who wants a Wii has got one.
It's
and they're
still
going to
still a pretty big number compared to
Oh, it's freaking
other
huge.
sales, so, yeah.
For a month?
And then the 360 had the price drop too, didn't it?
It did.
And it's still, there wasn't a big bump from that.
It didn't budge.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't care what people say. I still think a lot of their softness in sales has to do with the red ring. I just still think people don't trust the hardware. I know a lot of my friends still won't buy them. So
My days are certainly numbered.
How many
I
have
still
you
got,
gone
still
through?
got my first 360.
you and Jeremy Hoffman had a launch
I'm-
unit, but his just died last week.
I'm definitely in the comfort zone right now. I really don't appreciate how lucky I am that it's still functional.
I'm on my third one, so.
I'm on my second.
And I just got an Elite, and now my Elite won't detect my wireless adapter. Yeah.
You gotta edit
Not
some of
looking
it,
so good. And then we have NCAA Football 09, which was, in all honesty, awful compared to last year's game. It was so full of glitches I could hardly stand to play it. Sitting at number one. They're still moving lots of software on the 360, obviously, because there's a nice install base out there.
Mm-hmm.
And there sits Wii Fit. 370,000 copies sold last month. So, obviously, the non-game is not dead yet. Guitar Hero on tour for the DS, 300-some thousand sales. I think maybe the biggest surprise, Sid Meier's Revolution. A console RTS crack in the top 10. That's
Look at
unheard
that.
of.
Wow.
That's not called Pikmin. So,
It's a pretty solid game. It deserves some...
yeah, totally deserves
Deserves
some
some
sales.
sales.
I'm really excited that a new genre has cracked into the top 10. It's not a shooter. So anyway, that's the MPD sales charts for July. Some pretty interesting stuff there. And we're going to move on.
Yeah.
All right, next we're going to talk about something that absolutely made my day. It's the first video game-related announcement that actually made me gleeful, if that is even a word. I was filled with glee.
Skipping down the hall. a
I
little
did.
bit.
I in fact did skip
Kicking
down
the
the hall
heels.
when I got this press release, and that is that Mikami-san and Suda-san, Suda51, are working on a game together. To me, that is a match made in heaven, and it's a horror game, so it's right in the wheelhouse for both these guys. Suda's got the style. Mikami's got the whole design doc thing down. Could there be any two developers that'd be a better match than these guys?
Well, first of all, let's give everybody an idea of who they are and what they've done in the past,
Oh.
if they're not familiar with them.
Well, yeah. Well,
I think most people know who Shinji Mikami is.
Father of Resident Evil right there.
And the
Right.
creator of Resident Evil 4
Four.
completely remade the series
And then,
successfully.
Suda51's Grasshopper. They're more famous for Killer 7 and more recently No More Heroes.
Right?
On the Wii.
On the Wii.
Yeah.
So they definitely have, and they're more the stylized, presentation going there. But they more recently just worked on Fatal Frame 4 in Japan. So Grasshopper did.
Yeah, I know.
They've done
I was
a lot
trying to
of small
forget
stuff.
that.
They've done some DS work. It's not one of their main...
Well, the funny thing is Grasshopper Manufacturer is actually like 5 dudes. It's not like really a developer. Like what they'll do is they'll they'll get projects like this, and then they'll hire outside programmers to come in and program the stuff for them after they get the design docs done.
Actually, I just read a story. There was an American programmer that was hired by a Grasshopper. So
now that
he's
EA
now part of their studio.
So now that EA has invested some money, they're actually hiring some people in-house.
With EA involved, I mean, the game is probably going to be like a pretty big deal.
Because there's a lot of programmers.
Big budget, going to have marketing, so
there's a lot of programmers that jump from the Q Entertainment team over to the Grasshopper team. They kind of share a lot of the same guys. As one picks up a project, the other one does. So maybe they are staffing up now that EA is behind them. And wow, EA. They're on a freaking roll, man.
Yeah.
It's so funny. They're always like the whipping boy in this industry, but who right now is making more innovative, better games and investing money in it than EA? Who? John Riccatello, we love you, man. You're making a big difference over there. Definitely some mad props for you changing that place around. What do you guys think, though? What do you think we're going to see from this game? How many of you guys bet that it's cel-shaded?
No. Well, what do you mean by horror? That's my first question.
That's
like,
all they
it's
said,
a pretty
right?
broad term.
Pretty broad.
Like, would you consider Killer 7 a horror game, or is it just more like a gore game? Like,
I would consider it a horror game.
It's more,
I
yeah,
think
it's a
it's
psychological thriller.
Kind of like
Yeah.
Thriller. It definitely fucks with your
Yeah,
mind.
that's probably
there.
the best way to describe it.
Because I thought the game just took itself too seriously. It's one of the things I really didn't like about Killer 7.
Sudas-
It was like it seemed like it was trying to make a point, and it was just so unclear what that.
That's Suda's
what
games
that
in
was
a nutshell,
really
though, isn't it?
But No More Heroes was
I was a big fan.
much more obviously, kind of out there and over the top. So like I just like the tone of that a lot better than Killer 7. So
Well, the problem with Suda's games is they have all this style and these interesting characters and scenarios and plots, but then when you go to actually play the game, like, it's just kind of like, eh.
Well, I think
Killer
No More
7
Heroes was pretty strong.
No More Heroes was better
the
than Killer
overworld,
7.
it's not super full featured and great. Maybe that's the kind of feature, if you have Mikami involved and say, hey, we want this overworld thing, and be like, hey, let's do this right. And
That's why I think it's a perfect combination, though. Because
Oh, yeah,
Mikami
definitely.
has
Well,
the
he'll
whole
produce-
gameplay thing down, and Suda has the panache.
well, Suda's the director, and Mikami's going to produce, so.
So
yeah.
Mikami's going to make the game, Suda's going to say this is what it's going to look like.
What platform do you think it's going to be on?
Well, they said it's
They
going to be
said
on
already.
all platforms.
Oh, they did. They did announce.
Even we.
Anyway, it's time for On the Hook, where we answer your most burning questions.
I got a question from Kiko Miko. After nearly 4 months of being on the market, what is your guys' opinion of GTA 4 at this point? I know many people, myself included, who have found the game to be extremely boring after the first week or so, and not as great as it was hyped to be. I actually think that Saints Row 2, while maybe lacking in GTA's overall polish, might be a better game, just because of the amount of fun that can be had in it compared to GTA 4. GTA 4, when you boil it down, has less than 20 activities you can do, and most of them end up being really repetitive. What do you guys think? Well, this is actually interesting because this kind of ties into something that we're going to be experimenting with in the next couple weeks on a new segment that kind of goes back and looks at things that we've been playing for a while because, opinions do change. You do get to spend more time with the game.
My opinion never changes, Brandon.
Tell me about it. But, I got Brooks here, who's another big GTA fan, and the two, both him and I have been thinking constantly ever since I first was playing the game, where's this, where's that? There's, tons of possibilities of things they can do with the game.
Yeah.
So we're going to be exploring a lot of that in this video feature. But on the other hand, I didn't really go in expecting too much out of the activities in that game. Like I didn't really the first time I went bowling. I didn't think I'm going to bowl like crazy in this game. I was like, oh, that's fun.
A nice
But I didn't-
distraction.
I guess
Bowling
my
maniac.
expectations weren't that high for all the. It was fun. I appreciated that it was there. It kind of made the place feel more realistic. But
I like the fact that this new game is more streamlined. Everything that's there works really well. And I appreciated it. I liked that it was a little more linear. I liked that I knew what was going on. I don't miss all the gang parts of it taking over.
Yeah, the polish was unbelievable. I go back to the original Saints Row just for fun because there's some aspects of it. I like the insurance fraud scam, and you really get to appreciate how detailed the city is and how the vehicles behave and how the flight mechanics work and the helicopters. Because after this open world game, it's hard to go back to anything else.
Well,
They
I think
really
Saints
set the
Row
bar.
2 probably will be liked by people who like the old GTAs more than Grand Theft Auto 4.
Yeah, I mean you could spray sewer at people, and who doesn't love that?
it's tricky because it's kind of like what would bore you more in a game, and I guess it's just completely subjective. But Saints Row will have more stuff to do with, but for me that almost kind of makes I would get bored with that easier because that's all it is. It's literally just you
Yeah.
can streak, and that's it's like there's nothing more to streaking other than just people screaming
Right.
at you and running around naked. So
Yeah.
I don't know how long that could amuse me. Whereas like you have something like GTA 4, which just I was so engrossed in the characters and the story that like that is what made it not boring for me. Like
I mean, there were some brilliant parts of GTA 4. Like, for instance,
unbelievable.
the whole dating hit where you have to like act like you're gay or whatever to pick up this guy on the mess, and then you go show up and you kill him.
well, the fact that you can choose when in the conversation, so you can just sit there across the table from him and he's yapping and you're like, oh god, I'm gonna pull out my shotgun anytime and take this guy out.
And then all the points in the game where you had to make a choice whether you're going to kill people or not, and how that eventually affected the game. And I'm like standing there, I'm like, should I kill him? Should I not kill him? And like, very few games have ever asked you to make those decisions, and I thought they pulled off stuff like that really well. On the flip side, the missions, a lot of them were really repetitive, but there's also awesome missions like the bank robbery one, which was freaking one of the best missions I've ever played in a video game. I mean, I remember I reviewed that game, and I started seeing all the reviews rolling out, and they were just giving it perfect 10s, perfect 10s, perfect 10s. And I was like, man, did I underestimate this game? Because I gave it a 9.8, God forbid. But I mean, in hindsight, I don't think it deserved 10s, and I think maybe it deserved maybe even a little lower than I gave it, but it's still a freaking great game. And I don't see how anybody can say that they're bored of it or it's a bad I mean, that's ridiculous.
I still haven't beaten the game simply because I get so sidetracked.
Just one more thing that I think is interesting too, just about the draw of GTA 4 was Nico. I think that really propelled a lot of why people became obsessed with those characters, is how attractive of a character, you know, how awesome he was. And you have this game where it's like you generate your who is this guy? I have no connection to my character in Saints Row. So
in all honesty, the old GTAs, like the main characters were just like scumbags. Like I didn't give a shit about those guys. Like I didn't care if they died or not because they didn't care if they died or not. Another reason why this game really resonated with me more than the others. Damiani, you have a question for us. What's up?
Yeah, Ganch Bipolar.
Good luck with that one.
Hope I said that right, dude. Ask if Xbox Arcade, the Wii Virtual Console, and the PlayStation Network are one of the true innovations of the current generation of consoles. However, these sources of downloadable content are also possible avenues of attack by unauthorized parties. Do you see viruses, spyware, and malware becoming an issue in the future of console gaming? I don't know. I mean, not necessarily downloadable content. I know Nintendo's been having this issue with all those like hackers going on there and getting the free virtual console games, installing their custom channels.
Well, now you can play DVDs on the Wii without even having a modded system.
That was their response, because the big deal was that hack they had before, and then they released that new firmware update 3.3, and that killed everything. It killed Freeloader, it killed all the hacks, and they just responded back by putting this new software. You don't even need to modify your Wii anymore. But
why doesn't Nintendo just let you play DVDs on the thing? That makes no sense.
Cost and it'd be $300.
What would it cost at this point? $1 to license DVD play on each console? It's ridiculous.
Wow.
Yeah, well, that's kind of more. That's more like exploitation than malware. And I have thought, sometimes I'm like, what if I were to get a virus on this thing? But I mean, amazingly, haven't heard anything about it. Is it just not possible?
I think about it all the
every now
time.
and then I'm like, because your computer gives you constant issues.
Well, here's the issue. If they want to attack the Wii or the 360 or the PS3, they have to write this stuff specifically for those platforms. Most of the times when people write stuff like this, it's to somehow get your identity, some kind of a financial gain. Few people are going to do it just to be a jerk. So if you're going to do something to be a jerk, you would do it to write a program that would affect the most people. And the way to do that is on the PC.
I mean, more specifically to this question, I mean, on their official downloadable services, they're going to have to get some kind of program onto the actual
You'd have to hack
service.
the service.
Yeah, they'd have to hack the service and then get you to download it disguised as something. So, and that way, I think that might be a little too difficult for someone to do. I mean, 360, I see it maybe being the easiest because it's Windows-based and that's what hackers exploit. But I think the real danger comes from people putting in the custom software on there. That's what happened to people who did the PSP hacks at first. They downloaded stuff and they got their PSPs bricked. But I haven't heard of that happening on any of the consoles just yet.
All right, gentlemen, I got to step out for a second. My nose is running. I got to go blow it. But I think Grumpy's coming up next, right?
I think so.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back in a bit.
All right, Marcus. I see that Marcus,
Grumpy.
the grumpy gamer.
You can't call me Grumpy Gamer because apparently there's a website called Grumpy Gamer that was done by one of the guys who designed one of the old LucasArts adventures, and I got somebody actually email me on my blog and give me and tell me that I was a rip-off merchant for using
Wow.
it. So that guy, you check him at Facts. It was Shane Slatterfield who came up with the term Grumpy McGrump. He owns it, copyrighted. I have a tattoo on my ass to say so.
Well, we'll sort out the legal work later.
Yes, indeed. Let's talk
For
about
now, yeah, you have
what am I
something to
ranting? Activision, Vivendi, Blizzard, Sierra, whatever they're called this friggin' week. They've been acting almost EA-like in their douchebaggery over the past couple of weeks. There've been people fired. They just laid off 100 people from Radical Studios in Canada, where they're working on Prototype. So what does that mean for Prototype, which they've already bumped back? Sorry, my chewing gum almost fell out my mouth there. They let 50 people go at High Moon Studios, who did the Bourne game. I don't know what's on their schedule now. Honestly, High Moon, some nice people, but not much loss. They're getting, they out all these franchises. Riddick is a franchise that sold really well. One of the best Xbox games, old school Xbox games of all time.
Best licensed titles of all time.
One of the best movie titles. Yeah, exactly. And, way better than a lot of movie titles that Activision have ever done. World in Conflict. Again, something really new for the RTS scene. Sold really well, critically acclaimed. That has gone bye-bye. Brutal Legend, Tim Schafer. Seriously, Tim Schafer and Jack Black in Rock, God, Devil, action type game. It sounds friggin' hysterical. It's a great concept. That's gone bye-bye. And Ghostbusters. Who in their right mind would, have a game that looks as good as Ghostbusters, has a recognizable franchise, and then say, oh, yeah, we don't want to do that. We'd rather do Call of Duty 64, and we're going to set Call of Duty 64 in the Crimean War. Ghostbusters would have been a great franchise. So, yeah,
Well, first they just announced it was pushed back, right? Ghostbusters.
No, they've announced their franchise list, and the games they have taken have been Crash, Spyro. But what I wanted to try and figure out is where some of these games are going. Scarface sold really well. It was one of the last great old gen games. Got pretty good reviews across the board. There was the occasional turd bandit of a review that was just absolutely retarded, but it did a lot of things that the GTA 4 didn't do. It did a lot. It was better than Saints Row in my opinion for the old school. So I think Scarface 2 will resurface, and I think it'll resurface at Warner Brothers because they've just signed that deal with Universal for Wanted, and Pete Wannett is working on Wanted for Universal. It makes sense that having had him create Scarface, the Scarface 2 might surface there in the next 18 months to 2 years on next gen consoles, and I certainly would love to see it. Riddick, well, I really hope, the Starbreeze guys are just great. With the exception of the darkness. And feel free to chime in and not look at me as if I'm, an absolute retard. I thought the Riddick games were great. I think the new version of Riddick sounded really cool with the multiplayer and all the other aspects they were going to put in. I'd love to see that surface somewhere.
But do you think any of these games are just going to be lost?
I think we're in danger. Yeah, I think World in Conflict might disappear as a franchise, which is a shame. Ghostbusters, people are saying Ghostbusters will turn up at EA, but I think Sony might get very sneaky on this because Sony Pictures owns the Ghostbusters franchise. Yeah, that's my rant for this week. I know I'm on timing because people are poking me with big sticks covered in dog. Yes, I saw the fingers. That's it. I'm winding up. So this has been Grumpy. Please check out my site, Annoyed Gamer. I'm going to get that pimp in after all the crap I've been through in the last 45 minutes. Yeah, check out my site, Annoyed Gamer, and check out my live show
sorry
as well.
About the beatings and the
the beatings,
duct tape.
The duct tape was a nice touch.
Beard,
I like that. When you got the bucket of soapy frogs out and cut the bottoms out of the wetsuit, I got a bit scared. But anyway, yeah, that's me. I'm done. I'm going now. I need a lunch.
Grumpy out.
We'll see you again.
Yep, sorry I missed you this time, Grumpy. I'm sure you had a good chat with the boys anyway. Next we're going to talk about our GT Countdown.
We got a lot of feedback on this one.
Yeah, it was really popular for most difficult games. Really surprised. We ended up getting on YouTube and Dig and all that stuff. Lots of people seemed to dig it. I didn't see too many arguments with our selections.
No.
Every once in a while, you have some people like, I beat this game. Why is it on there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I beat it. Can't be that hard.
I've made some notes on.
Let's share those notes.
Without a doubt, the three most I beat that game easily games were Devil May Cry 3, Shinobi, and Zelda 2 were called out as being joke entries that
Nobody
specifically
beat
Devil May Cry 3.
any of those games easily.
Yeah. Well, apparently they did. But I think what we were talking about earlier is that, you know, the list was kind of a reference to the first time that you play it. Obviously, if you've played Contra 50 billion times, then you can probably get through it fairly easily. But
Well, yeah, once you memorize the whole frickin' game.
I can't see anybody picking up Devil May Cry 3 and just breezing through it the first time.
No.
But I don't know. Maybe
So,
that's just me.
3 out of 10 we got railed for a little bit. That's not bad.
No.
Right.
Nobody. I think one person disagreed with number one. Everybody.
I think everybody agrees that Battletoads.
You guys should have seen Patrick and I playing that if you didn't. I was like,
I think that one person
Tearing
who
my hair out.
disagreed admitted they were playing the Genesis version, which was toned down and
Oh,
far
yeah,
more
which
easier
was
than
made much
NES.
easier.
no, we played the real deal.
Also good too. I mean, we don't. You know, it takes so long to put these lists together, and when you see a top 10, you want it to resonate. And I
want a
just
good
imagine
mix.
like watching a list, and you're like, I haven't heard of
Yeah.
that. You know, what's harder to get footage for than most difficult games of all time.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a tricky.
Get to
Well, I
the
saw some
end.
comments that goes, people were like, I never even saw that part of Battletoads. I didn't even know that part existed.
I'm
So,
sure
yeah.
a lot of people stopped at the bikes.
Yeah.
Slamming into the wall.
I'd say
over and
most
over
people
again.
stopped at the bikes. But yeah, we are working on more. We're going to try to make it more frequent for you guys. And actually, Brandon is the guy who's heading that up. So if you
yeah.
want to crack the whip on his ass.
But just real quickly, I got the suggestions for stuff that we missed. ActRaiser, Beautiful Joe, Maximo, which I remember you mentioned before. Metal Slug, Bionic Commando, the real Mario 2, the secret levels.
Oh, yeah.
Stuntman, Mega Man series. You mentioned Mega Man 1 earlier. Comic Zone, Jet Force Gemini, Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, which the end of that game is almost impossible. Gradius, System Shock 2, Double Dragon 3, and Monster Hunter.
And then what are some of the other ones that were on the Mega Man? I think that was probably number 11 on the list.
Right.
Maybe that's one I think
Well,
maybe I could
we didn't
agree.
want to have all NES games. And there were a lot of people that didn't list. They're like, oh, I didn't play any of these NES games. I
Yeah.
started gaming with PlayStation or whatever like that.
And we
So,
did
yeah.
consider that a little bit. Like, it
Wanna
could
have a
have
good
really
mix.
been all NES games. But we wanted to give a nod to some of the... I mean, not everybody who comes to our site is as old as we are and played all these games. So we want to have something that they can relate to. I think F-Zero GX, everybody probably threw a controller or two trying to play the story mode in that game. One of the most difficult modern games I've ever played, I think. All right. That's going to do it for this week's show. Next week we'll have the regular crew back on, although maybe we'll have you back in, Brandon.
I hope so.
I know the fans love you, as they should. But yeah, everyone will be back from Germany next week, and then some of them will be heading right off to PAX.
Why are you looking at me when you're saying that?
You
going to PAX?
have to go
Steam.
for Lederhosen or whatever the hell. You just get to go up there. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next Thursday and every Thursday after this. Peace out.
Peace out.